Hi again, and this is, oh, I lost track then. I think it's part 6 of our little video series. Well, I should say my video series because I don't know you. So I hope you're enjoying what's going on here. It's a little bit ad lib, it's quite sort of freestyle, as if we're sitting in the same room together. And I'm sure we've all got used to kind of being at home a lot more, but obviously it means that you can benefit at any time, even if you've just come from the beach or a lovely walk in nature. Have a little look in, because I'm going to continue with these little video blogs. In our last video, I talked about energy therapies and how it can affect our karmic energy, as well as work on a myriad of different conditions. And one example I mentioned was anxiety. It can really work very, very well for that. Best to catch the anxiety when it's there, like when it's really kind of just presenting itself, because it will be, it'll be a symptom of something that's gone on for you in real life. Perhaps there's a situation that's happened to you that's made you feel anxious, and as a result, you know, sort of your whole body has reacted. And the more that happens to us, the more it will be that it kind of accumulates in the body, it accumulates in the energy system. So what we need to do is we need to kind of catch it early, if you like, in order to get on top of it. So that we still have an overview in terms of where it came from, and sort of to not let it accumulate and let it affect us to a point where it becomes really, really strong, because that is actually what's already happened to a lot of us, if not most of us. We tend to have this kind of level of constant anxiety, a lot of us, that accompanies us throughout our lives, and I can't make people aware of that enough in terms of how we are reacting to outside influences all the time, with a certain level of constant underlying anxiety already. I know this because I've been a therapist for one of the energy therapies called EFT for the last 22 years. And over the years, I've had thousands of people through my practice, and what's underlying a lot of the conditions that present themselves in so many different ways, on so many different levels, is almost always anxiety. When I look and compare that to our karmic energy and where the concept of karma comes from, very often it's kind of come to me that sort of underlying karmic existence and the wheel of karma, the wheel of existence, at the hub of the wheel, the Buddhists put 3 defilements. They sort of mention that underlying anything like bad karma, or that's karma to our detriment, they say there's greed, avarice, ignorance, and I forgot the third one. Greed, ignorance, and anger. Of course. Didn't come to me straight away because I don't tend to get very angry anymore. But what I have kind of in my own very personal individual way added to that concept of the wheel of Dharma, the wheel of karma, the wheel of suffering, is that underlying those 3, ignorance, greed, and anger, is anxiety. I do believe that that is at the core of almost all of our trouble these days. We are all, as a society, so overwrought with everything that is presented to us, you know, sort of troubles in all sorts of areas, wherever we go, you know, sort of whether it's family or job or our, you know, sort of way of life, the way we do things. It's like we try and escape anxiety as a result of not being able to deal with it, and so on. So it's kind of there, that level of constant underlying, that hum of a negative energy, which is in our bodies, manifests as a result of ongoing anxiety that's been left untreated. So if you can relate to that in any way, I can honestly reassure you that there is a way of alleviating it, there is a way of lessening it. The way we do that is actually quite simple. It's not that complicated, and if only more of us did know how to do it. Like I indicated in the last video, we have a way of accessing our energy system, which we can do in our own homes. Everybody can do it, from little to old, no matter what the age, no matter what your condition is, no matter whether you're physically able or not, no matter whether you have time or not, no matter whether you're stressed or not. The less time and the more stressed you are, the more you should use it, really. But you know, sort of, you can write it with lipstick on your mirror. I always say, you know, remember to do energy therapy. Start on something that you feel anxious about. Like, say for example, you're anxious about your job and you don't know whether you have a job. You know, sort of come. You know, sort of everybody going back to work right now after a very strict lockdown, and people are sort of thinking, do I still have a job? Will I still keep my job? Will my business still be all right? You know, I've taken on a lot of debts and so on. So whatever you feel most anxious about, give that a rating from 1 to 10. If it's kind of beyond 10 and you're really, really stressed about it, then you don't even have to focus on what the issue is. Just use the energy tapping therapy straight away. I'll show you in a minute how to do that. If you come up with anything between 1 and 10, 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest, 0 being non-existent, then you don't have to tap on it. Or it's hidden and latent and it isn't showing itself at that moment in time. But if it's anything between those numbers, you can guess that the higher it gets, the more painful it would be, you know, sort of not just in your mind, but it can also affect your organs. It can affect your, you know, sort of behavior pattern. It can affect your future choices that you make. You know, a lot of us are reacting at the moment to the anxiety being created in our environment with, you know, sort of political situations and uncertainties, with a little bit of game playing. You just wonder, you know, sort of, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? I'm confused. You know, sort of, you need to come back to yourself is basically the answer. And the energy therapy will focus inwards for you so that you get to say, just you, yourself, in your own environment, and you don't need anybody else there. You don't need a therapist necessarily for all the little things. But I am going to, again, put another disclaimer there. If you are struggling really in a big way, please get yourself a very, very experienced therapist who can guide you through it. This is just a sort of little self-help trick to start you off with, to get you kind of, to get a taste for these energy therapies and to see how your body responds to them. Because some people respond to them immediately and it alleviates things immediately. Others respond to it differently. And there are ways of making them work for you if you only know what to say and do. So you need a little bit of a script at the end of the day. But it's so simple. You could actually kind of come up with something that you're anxious about. We did that with the job, saying maybe you are anxious about your job and the level of anxiety is about an 8. And say you're thinking, oh, I'm not sure if I have a job at the end of the summer. I'm not sure my job will, you know, continue, whether it still exists at the end of the summer. And you could put that into a phrase, and basically the phrase goes along with points that you tap on. And one of the most important points I've noticed is this one here. For some reason, tapping on both sides of your collarbone point, a little bit sort of further down from your collarbone point, tapping here. Like I'm tapping quite strongly with my thumb and with my other digits here on the other side. And I always sort of say, even though it deviates a little bit from some of the sort of blueprints as to how energy therapies really sort of technically work as a default procedure. So I have my own slightly adapted version. But I just say, I have this anxiety, and it's, say, a level 8, about my job not being there at the end of the summer. And then you put a counter statement to that. First of all, is the acknowledgement. I have this anxiety. Isn't that such a great relief just to say, oh my God, I have this anxiety? It's such a revelation. I'm actually allowed to say it. You know, let's go into that a little bit further. For finally, you know, whilst I'm tapping, actually it's already getting less. How is that possible? This is how simple it is. You're tapping and you're making a statement about your anxiety, and it's already started to alleviate. It's already started to lessen. So even whilst I'm just saying, I have this anxiety, oh my God, it's so good to be honest about it. It's so good to just say, oh, this didn't feel right. You know, I don't want this in my body. Why have I got this there? And as you're sort of tapping, you can also check in, you know, am I still an 8 on that? Or has it already dropped down by a couple of notches? Am I now a 7 or maybe even a 6? Okay, let's take this further, because then it starts to get exciting. When you've started to feel that it started to work, just simply by tapping here and saying, okay, I have this anxiety, and actually there's already a healing aspect to just admitting it. But there's another part to the sentence that you're going to say, because the second part of the sentence is something that you can choose to put together and customize it, because this is what you want to put out there that you want to have instead. So instead of the anxiety, what would you rather have there? Would you rather have health there? Would you rather have reassurance there? Would you rather have something more concrete, like, I want to exactly know what's going to happen before the end of the summer? You know, I want to feel confident again, you know, so I want to feel good about this, you know, despite the anxiety. I want to feel like I'm in charge again. I want to feel empowered again, despite this anxiety, you know, so this anxiety has been taking over. And okay, I might not have a job at the end of the summer, but hey, you know, sort of, I have this skill, I have that skill, I can do this, I'm good at that. And see where I'm getting at? You're kind of having this inner dialogue come up for you, and you're really going into it, you're allowing it to arise. And the weird thing is, the talking is tuning in to your energy within. And what that does is, it automatically does something for you. It automatically allows your body to adjust to your energy levels, again, to what you want them to be. You can put there into the sentence whatever you like. You can swear if you want to. I don't need to do that right now, because it's not really my issue. I'm not that afraid about my job. But if that's what you've chosen to do, to tap on, you can put there, oh my God, I don't effing believe it, you know, it got taken away from me, and now I don't have any control over it, and blah blah blah, and I'm bummed out, and I'm miffed, and I really can't stand it, and I'm losing sleep, and I'm fed up, and I'm annoyed. All of those kind of things. Get into it, yeah? Say, oh yeah, it's given me a headache, actually can feel it in my head, and go into all of the different aspects of what's going on for you. Some people even see colours. They have sensations or ringing in their ears. They have other symptoms accordingly, you know? A lot of people feel the adrenaline in their lower abdomen. They feel it in their solar plexus and say, this gives me an adrenaline overload all the time, and I'm so fatigued by it. You can put that into your statement, because that's what anxiety does. It's your fight and flight reflex. So you need to kind of acknowledge that there are physical knock-on effects from having this reaction to external situations pretty much all the time. We're subject to that, all of us, and it's not your fault. Remember, it's not your fault. You can put it into your statement saying, I'm feeling guilty. I'm feeling guilty that by the end of the summer I don't have my job, I don't know how I can feed my family, I don't know where my money is going to come from, and what the state might think of me. They might think I'm a lazy bum, and yet I have all these amazing skills, and yet I can't find a job. But I don't know, I've been looking and I can't do this right now, and physically it's been affecting me, and now I'm even scared of getting well, because then what, you know? So there are a lot of reverse psychology things that go on within us as well. You know, sort of like even the positives can sometimes feel negative, because our body has a reaction, and our brain has an interpretive reaction to everything that goes on externally. It decides, oh, you go this way and that might happen, and you go that way and then that might happen. And before you know it, you're in this kind of gameplay, in this kind of narrative of what you feel is going to happen next in the future. And of course it stops us from doing the thing that we're good at by nature, which is to be in the moment. And when you've heard other people talk about it, you know, sort of like the yoga crowd, and doing postures and bringing us back into the moment with meditation and certain techniques and so on, and you just think, what is this being in the moment? I can't be in the moment. I'm forever worrying about the future or thinking about the past. How do I be in the moment? What is that even? Nobody's ever taught me. This is what it does. It takes the anxiety out of what goes on for you internally, and you can interpret it in whichever way you want. You can say, oh, I can see colours even, you know, sort of this angst that I have is this really black colour, or this really dark red or purple or yellow, whatever you want to call it. And you can even locate it in your body. You can say, oh, it's in every fibre, every ounce of my body, or it seems to be in every cell of my body, and it seems to have taken root there. One of the things that I came up with a few years ago to say to people is like, this issue, and in this case this anxiety, is like a lodger that's not paying rent, and it's lodging in my body. I'm giving it the marching orders. It's not allowed to reside in my body any longer. I'm chucking it out. I don't want it there anymore. I don't need it there anymore. Perhaps you catch my drift, and though as mad as it sounds, it works. And I wouldn't have been doing this for the last 22 years if it didn't work. I sometimes have quite a short attention span, and I get very impatient. So I just, you know, sort of think, oh no, this doesn't work, I don't want it. So I'll move on. And this is kind of one of the few things that I've stuck with over the last 20 odd years. So for me, that's quite a good track record. And it is quite a long time. So for some of you, you weren't probably even born the time that all of these energy therapies started. And yet, where are they? They work so well, and yet many, many people haven't heard about them and aren't able to incorporate them into their everyday lives. I'll leave that with you to sort of just digest, and all I can say is there is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful knock-on effect to working with energy therapies. Apart from looking a lot younger than your years, apart from the physical attributes of suddenly feeling a lot lighter and feeling a lot more calmer, then, you know, sort of there are other things as well to consider, because you can actually tap into a lot more of your karmic makeup, your karmic setup. And if you're interested in that, then carry on listening, because I'm going to touch on some of that in my next video, on how to find out a little bit more about your karmic past, where you've come from, how to recognize some of the aspects of how that are presenting themselves in this moment, in your life right now, and perhaps, you know, sort of something that we can even draw conclusions from as a result, as to how we got here in the first place. I would refrain from trying to decide for anybody else, as I've said before, as to where their karma has been before and where their karma is at right now. No matter how angry we get sometimes, or anxious about how other people are reacting to us, this is entirely for you. This is all about you. This is not a punishment. This is a joy. This is something that should be given as a gift that I'm giving to you for free, to actually allow you to find out a little bit more about who you truly are. And I hope you've enjoyed this session. It's been a little bit different from the other ones so far. They've been very theoretical. This one's been very practical. And it's an incentive to make you perhaps look at these things a little bit more. After all, we have got the internet, so look up energy therapies, whatever you're drawn to. The one that I have been drawn to in the past more than any other, and that I can thoroughly recommend, is EFT. The website for that is Gary Craig's, the founder's website, which is emofree.com. And I very much salute Gary for everything that he's done in his life. He's always been a really, really amenable chap. And I've admired his work for some time now. And I just thought you might want to benefit from all of that as well. It does take you further down the rabbit hole, I promise you that. If you want to go down there, you can. Or you can say, this is where I leave it at. I'm just going to deal with my anxiety because that's what's most prevalent. And I've chosen anxiety specifically because it does affect all of us really, really dramatically right now. And probably always has done. I'll see you next time. Bye.